981-2590, Saunders, DN, Air Bomber. 985-7654, Ainsworth, JAF. Sir! Pilot. 983-2467, Cartwright, RO. Sir! Navigator. 984-6321, Smith, AT. Sir! Air Bomber. 984-3265, Harrison, J. Sir! Pilot. 987-8963, Wilton, DW. Sir! Pilot. 985-6591, Royston, SO. Sir! Pilot. The men whose names I have just read out, and those previously selected as pilots, will leave these sunny shores and proceed to the United States for training. Navigators and air bombers will go to Canada.
On March 5, 1941, General Arnold informed the British Air Attaché in Washington that as soon as the Lease-Lend Bill was passed, the US Army proposed to offer 260 elementary and 285 advanced trainers to the UK government for the training of RAF pupils in American civil schools.
You don't understand, for heaven's sake, don't be afraid to ask questions. That's what we're here for, to help you. Well, fellas, when I call your names out, leave the ranks and join your instructors over here. Cadets Johnson, Caper, Loring, and Mills. Instructor John Lattimore.
Various details were worked out during the next month. 6 operators were invited to submit detailed proposals for these flying schools. The courses were officially named the British Flying Training Schools. The 6 British Flying Training Schools decided upon were: number 1 at Terrell, Texas; number 2 at Lancaster, California; number 3 at Miami, Oklahoma; number 4 at Mesa, Arizona; number 5 at Clewiston, Florida; and number 6 at Ponca City, Oklahoma. Each airfield was built to be 1 mile square, with 2 runways and a control tower. Each school had the capacity of 200 pupils on a 20-week course, with the total output of 150 pupils per month. The first 100 pupils departed the UK in mid-April and commenced training on the 31st of May 1941. For the purposes of this video, we will only look at number 5 BFTS at Clewiston. Work started in 1941 on an ambitious building programme, frequently beset with difficulties. Rattlesnake dens, high humidity, and torrential rain delayed the opening of Riddle Field until the autumn of 1941. And early arrivals for 5 BFTS were initially trained at nearby Karlstrom Field. The airfield was designed with 2 grass surface runways in a V pattern, avoiding crosswind landing and takeoff for trainee pilots. It was equipped with 2 large barracks built in colonial style, with individual rooms for students. Smaller barracks, a large dining hall, a recreational hall, ground and flight school and an infirmary were on site as well. A diamond-shaped ring road was laid, which surrounded the complex. Number 5 BTFS at Clewiston commenced training its first 50 cadets on the 17th of July at the US Army field of Carlstrom. Riddle Field commenced training on the 23rd of August. The syllabus for training was laid down on RAF lines, with 1 chief flying instructor and 1 chief ground instructor, supplied by the RAF for each pair of schools. The only other RAF staff was the adjutant and an NCO in charge of discipline. Each school had a capacity of 200 pupils on a course of 20 weeks duration, with intakes of 50 pupils every 3 weeks. The course was divided into 2 stages, each of 10 weeks in length. Basic instruction involved 70 hours flying on elementary trainers, which corresponded roughly to the elementary flying training school format. This was followed by an advanced stage which involved 80 hours training on basic and advanced trainers. The pupil wastage was estimated to be 28%, giving an output of 36 pupils per course, or a total output for the 6 schools of roughly 2,250 pilots per year. 35 aircraft at each school were Stearmans or Fairchilds for primary training. Plus, in addition, for advanced training, there would be the Harvard, of which there were 40 per school. Pupils were warned that the instruction they would then receive would be different from that provided by the RAF. They were also reminded that they were representing the RAF in America, and any reference to the war should be guarded, and that criticism of America should be avoided. Because of the neutrality laws existing in America, the RAF cadets wore civilian clothes when entering the USA, and to be worn while off duty. RAF blue or khaki uniforms were to be worn at work in the school. In May 1945, when the war in Europe ceased, the Americans promptly discontinued all Army Air Force pilot training at civilian-operated schools. They agreed, however, to allow intakes to continue until the 20th of August 1945, in order to allow the RAF to re-establish a training scheme in the UK. The sudden ending of the Japanese War on the 15th of August meant that no more flying was carried out after number 25 course had passed out on the 25th of August. The last course, which had completed 2 weeks training, was returned to the UK, where they were given an opportunity to complete their training. On the 27th of August 1945, 4 years after the first British cadets arrived in the USA, all flying training in America on behalf of the RAF came to an end. A course due to start on the 28th was returned to the UK without having commenced training. In all, 6,921 RAF and 558 USAF pilots received their wings at these schools. 23 RAF cadets died while training with number 5 BFTS in Florida. They are buried in Oak Ridge Cemetery. Today, Riddle Field is called Airglades Airport and operates as a civil airport owned by Hendry County. Some local residents have reported strange occurrences from the British plot in the cemetery. Figures have been seen standing before the headstones, only to disappear moments later. There are also reports of phantom aircraft being seen, but mostly just heard above the cemetery. One of these locals posted an account on Facebook which told of his experience when he visited the graves. He states that he saw a Union Jack flag hanging from the flagpole. However, Later, when he viewed the photos he had taken that day, there was no flag on the flagpole. Others have also told of their encounters involving the Union Jack disappearing, or of being moved to half-mast while they were visiting, although there was no visible caretaker present to adjust the flag. One account from the cemetery mentions, "We used to rent a house across the little gully that runs along the south side of the cemetery, just across from the British plot. Sometimes late at night we would hear voices from that direction. We could never exactly hear what was said, but they sounded like it had an accent. We never felt the urge to go and check it out." And also this. "One night I parked on the side street that dead ends at the cemetery with some friends. We heard singing, really old stuff. Sounded like a bunch of drunk guys. British accents. I don't know any of the songs, but there was something about the White Cliffs." And also, the lights going on.
The boys are home again, all over the world.
The White Cliffs of Dover and When the Lights Go On Again were popular songs in Britain during World War II. There is also a strange account that the Arcadia police were called out to the cemetery one night looking for somebody playing the bagpipes. The sound of bagpipes is another fairly common report from the area of the British plot. The Tripping on Legends website has the following personal account from 2018. "We arrived at the cemetery a little after noon on a fairly windy Sunday. By the time we made it to the RAF memorial, the wind had mostly settled and it was a bit after 1 p.m. We wanted to pay our respects to the airmen and see if we could touch some of the stories attached to them. We spent some time reading the headstones and the memorials. We said each airman's name and left a penny on each grave. To try and get a response, Natalie read the poem In Flanders Fields. And then they also played We'll Meet Again by Vera Lynn.
Don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day."
Whilst claiming that nothing unusual happened while they were in this part of the location, they note that the rope on the Union Jack flag went crazy, clanging against the pole, even though the wind had died down. On the recording they took, it was clearly present, but no wind. When they read the poem In Flanders Fields, every noise, including the birds and the rope, stopped entirely.